Hi everyone, thank you very much for joining us for our first best practice webinar. I'm Zishaan Mohammed. I'm the ESOL project officer in the ESOL Intelligence Unit within Walsall Council. And just to give you a bit of background about our webinar, as part of our roles, we had to go into projects and observe them, monitor them, and assess what was good and what needed a little bit of improvement. And one thing we noticed was that every project seemed to have something that they were exceptional at, whether that was the use of digital technologies, whether it was exceptional feedback and teaching, or brilliant curriculum design. And we'd usually go back, make a note of these things, discuss it as a team. But one idea we had was, why is this best practice isolated to certain projects? How do we take these gems that might have come from, say, a 20-year career in IT and share them with all the different projects within Walsall? And so the best practice webinar was one of the solutions that we came up with. So this is our first one, and hopefully you can find it very useful and learn something that you can use to improve your projects or your classes. And hopefully in the future, if we have another best practice webinar, maybe you can join and share some of the excellent things that you've learned. So today we're going to have 4 speakers. We have Harjinder, who is ESOL coordinator, who has over 10 years experience as an ESOL teacher. He will be talking about effective ESOL feedback. We have Sanjay from the Hindu Forum, who has a 20-year plus career in IT. And he's going to be talking about how, because of lockdown, they had to move on to Zoom, and they have a student population which is quite elderly, and a lot of people, a lot of projects mentioned that they were worried about elderly people having difficulty to go online. But Sanjay, with his 20-year background in IT, didn't see that as a problem, and he's absolutely smashed it. So he's going to be discussing what they did, but also how others can learn from that. And finally, we have Tomulescu from Nash Dom CIC, who has done absolutely incredible work, gigantically expanding the amount of students that they have in their classes. So she's going to be talking about some of the stuff that she did in terms of marketing and student recruitment and sharing those lessons. So that's the agenda for today. And so without further delay, we are going to go over to our first speaker of the evening, which will be Harjinder, the ESOL tutor. And he's going to deliver his presentation. And if you have any questions for him, there will be a question and answers box in the top right hand of your screen. If you just type them in there, when all the speeches are done, the speakers will get back to you. So thank you very much. Hope you enjoy it. And I'm just going to now hand over to Harjinder.
Hi, Zishaan. Thank you very much. I'm just going to share my presentation with you all first before I make a start. Okay, so thank you very much, Zishaan, for the introduction. So yeah, my name is Harjinder. I'm the ESOL coordinator for Walsall Council. I used to be an ESOL teacher and have over 10 years experience in this field. The ESOL Intelligence Unit, which consists of myself as the coordinator and Zishaan and Natalia as the ESOL project officers, have carried out a number of monitoring observations of the sessions run by 20 of our ESOL providers throughout Walsall. One of the key elements we focused on was how teachers were providing feedback and how this feedback was being received by the learners themselves. So today I'll be focusing on what feedback is, essentially, how to give good, effective feedback to learners, and sharing some tips with examples on providing constructive feedback to individual students and groups as well. So I'm just going to go over to the next slide. So essentially, what is feedback? So feedback is essentially providing learners with information on their performance, their progress, and letting them know what they are doing and if they're going on the right track. One of the things that has been wrongly associated with feedback is that it's all to do with error correction. And as teachers, we need to steer away from this and be able to facilitate learning by balancing corrections with praise. so that your students don't start associating your comments and your feedback with failure. That's something that's quite significant when you do teaching observations. And a lot of studies have shown praising your learners' efforts or providing them with constructive feedback is one of the most powerful tools, which will engage and motivate your students' attitudes towards learning. Most importantly, it gives teachers the opportunity to praise learners for effective language use, how well they're communicating in this target language, and contributing to the sessions on a personal level. And one thing we need to do as teachers is to make sure that learners are made to feel that they are progressing. So feedback needs to be carefully handled to avoid embarrassment. And I'm using the word embarrassment because throughout my teaching observations I've done, teachers have to kind of tweak their language so they don't offend learners, just in case they become disengaged. They may not receive your feedback as positive and you may come across as negative. So that's extremely important. So teachers need to keep in mind is that students are trying to master a new skills in a completely new language and will rely heavily on teacher feedback to steer them towards reaching their goals. You want to create a classroom environment that allows your learners to not fear making mistakes, and that support will always be at hand through constructive feedback. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to provide you with about 4 tips on providing feedback. So we've got the first one here is be specific. We need to be specific about why something was good when providing feedback to a student. It's always important to note that your feedback leads to action and learners need to see that. So for example, you've got what we call, well, the terminology we use in teaching practice is non-specific feedback, which is things like, that's right, good, great, that's fine. This kind of style of feedback is what we see as a missed opportunity. There's no indication of what has been approved, no indication what has been done that was successful. So it's vital for teachers to elaborate to make it more meaningful and be specific to what has been said with examples. So I'm going to show you an example, which is right here. What I've done is I've taken 3 of the non-specific feedbacks, such as well done, great, and very good. And what I've done is I've highlighted in red, as you can see, there's always a link or reference made to what has been said by the learner. And as tutors, we need to elaborate on this kind of feedback and reference to show that their answers serve a purpose and is success in use. So it's very important to teachers cross-reference and highlight this as much as they can, rather than going with very short, well done, great, and very good answers. So the next feedback is to be very clear. So feedback needs to be transparent and descriptive enough so that students understand what they were doing right. So what they should do is how to correct the error, and tutors need to start offering concrete suggestions for improvement. So here's another example I've got for you. As you can see in this example, the tutors obviously said it's very good. They've highlighted what the grammatical point is, and they've actually offered a concrete suggestions on how to improve. So where the learners actually said, I am watch TV, the tutors offered a suggestion of I am watching TV. And that kind of feedback is very important for learners because it allows them to embrace their mistakes and try again without having some form of negative feedback or criticism. Okay, so the third one we've got is use diversity in your choice of words. What you want to do is you want to avoid repetition of the same word with every student when providing feedback. You'll find a lot of teachers when they are giving feedback, they'll start using the same thing as in very good, well done, constantly in every single session with the same learner. And what happens with that kind of feedback is over time it loses its value and purpose. And through the teaching practice that I've been through, we were conditioned to use more expressive words. So we were told to move away from things like good, very good, and great, and start using more expressive words like fantastic, excellent, million, highlight the success of what the learners actually achieved. So tutors really need to start giving positive feedback on what learners have achieved and tie the praise to a specific positive action. And it's difficult for students to acknowledge mistakes. So therefore, having a combination of positive and negative feedback can facilitate that learning. And using positive comments by acknowledging what actions were done well with examples for improvement without any form of criticism will allow the students to embrace all of this and to perform better in the classes. And one thing I was always taught, errors are opportunities to learn, to grow and to improve. And what you want to avoid is combining positive feedback with criticism. So that's something we need to really, really avoid and step back from. And one of the things we were conditioned into not using was avoid using but where possible. Especially immediately after you've complimented or praised a learner, because the word but carries a very negative connotation. It's connected with ideas that contrast. So if you're telling a learner you've done really well, but you could have done better, it's completely flip-sided everything. And what the learner will do is they'll take the negative feedback rather than the positive. So it's quite such a overpowering word that we are told to avoid the word but. So if you look at the examples that I've actually provided previously through the slides, you'll notice that I've never used the word but in the feedback. So that's something that you'd want to kind of consider and just improve your form of feedback when you're giving that to the learners. Okay, so the final tip I would offer would be emphasize and ask questions. So emphasizing asking questions to help students reach the answer or to complete the task at hand. It's completely fine to prompt the learners, but what you don't want to do is to give the answers straight away. Allow the students to speak without the immediate need for feedback, and help students see their ideas are valid, even if it's not what you were looking for, and show them that you value their input. Now, if you've got learners who are getting all the answers correct, personally, what I would do is to ensure that they've understood what they're actually giving you, like the answers, is to reinforce meaning and understanding. Not all students will be able to provide you with such detail due to the limited language they've got. So as long as they can demonstrate what they've grasped, like the basic meaning and use, then accept that. I'm going to just provide an example from one of our ESOL providers. I did a teaching observation about 2 weeks ago, and the session was based on indefinite articles, when to use a and an before a vowel and a consonant. There was one learner in particular who struggled to understand the grammatical point and when to use a and an before a noun. But the tutor took the time out and actually went up the grammatical point again, and a task was set for the whole class. And this individual was selected by the teacher to provide the feedback to the 10 questions that were on the worksheet. And that individual got 9 out of 10 of them correct, which was really good to see. But what the tutor did was, which I was really impressed by, was to ask questions after every answer was given. So if, for example, the student said a bed or an apple, the tutor was asking, okay, so why did you use a, why did you use an? This learner obviously had very limited English, but was able to say because it's a consonant, because it's a vowel. So that reinforced the learner's knowledge on the actual grammatical point and how to actually use the indefinite articles correctly. The one answer they got wrong, the tutor didn't just give the answer straight away. They just said, okay, revisit that letter, that word you've just said. So the word was tomato, I think it was. And what does the word tomato begin with? So the learner said it's a T. And obviously tutor said, well, what is T? Is it a vowel or a consonant? Obviously the learner said it's a consonant. So what do we use before? Do we use a or do we use an before a consonant? So there's a lot of reinforcement. There was a lot of emphasis on the grammatical point. And one of the things as tutors, what we need to do is to If you are going to praise or give feedback or emphasize or ask questions, is to relate it back to your aims and objectives of the session, and just keep reinforcing that through your feedback so the learner is fixated on what they're actually learning in that session, and they'll take something away a bit more effectively. A lot of tutors have asked me, if students are still struggling, what do we do? And one of the things that I used to do as a teacher was to get the whole group to participate in the feedback and create like a team effort, just make it as a team effort to reach the answer, but praise the group as a whole rather than individuals. And that way everyone feels safer participating, are made to feel as part of a team as well. So just to recap on everything really, so main points to cover on feedback is be specific. Just be very clear about and very transparent in the way you are delivering and actually giving feedback to the learners. And just ensure that diversity is used in your choice of words. So just be aware of the non-specific language and ones where you should be elaborating a bit more and making cross-references and highlighting the examples the learners have provided, because what you don't want to be doing is just saying, yes, that's fine, but the student hasn't understood really what they've done that was fine. But complement feedback with examples for improvement and just encourage students to embrace their mistakes. And just in concluding that really is effective praise and feedback can provide students with the kind of positive reinforcement that ensures success, motivates them to learn, and increases their participation in class. So that's all from myself. If you have any questions, as Zishaan said, just pop them in the questions and answer box, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you have. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that presentation, Harj. Absolutely fantastic. And as Harjinder said, if you have any questions for him, there is a question and answer box in the top right-hand corner of your screen. It looks like a little box with a question mark on it. And if you just type in a question and maybe mention the name of who you want to answer that question, when this is finished, we will have a Q&A segment where Harj will answer your question. So now we are going to hear from our second speaker of the evening, which is Anna Tomulescu. Anna is from Nash Dom CIC, and her presentation is on marketing and recruitment strategy. So without further delay, I am going to hand over to Anna. And once again, if you have any questions, just pop it in the questions and answer box and Anna will answer them at the end.
Hello, thank you very much, Zishaan. I was invited for this webinar to talk about how did we manage to increase the numbers of participants in our classes. I would like to speak about the Nash Dom experience. I wouldn't pretend that I'm a marketing expert here, so all the information I'm going to present to you is based on our experience. My name is Anna Tomulescu. I'm a program development manager at Nash Dom. I've recently joined the team actually, so to build this presentation, I was supported by my colleagues, tutors and managers who are involved in ESOL delivery. So in our marketing strategy, we followed 3 simple steps, which we apply continuously really. It's plan, manage, evaluate and improve. So if we speak about planning, we defined our target audience. We knew that we want to deliver ESOL to European communities, newly arrived communities, which are really our clients. Set your marketing goals. We knew that we want to set up at least a group. So we had in mind like 15 people at the beginning. Set activities, which means think of the ways you're going to approach your target audience, either online, offline, using social media, using websites, using leaflets, and so on. Identify social media platforms. That was important for us because we picked the approaches we picked were offline and online. And I don't know if you know, but Eastern European communities are very much using social media and specifically Facebook. So we knew that as a target for our promotion campaign of the ESOL course would be to get on Facebook and to reach out as many potential learners as possible. So for doing that, we use our client database because, as I said, we have our main activity is advice and guidance for European communities in different issues related to housing, income, employment, health, and so on. So we do have a quite consistent client database, and our outreach service, as I said, the advisory service is part of the outreach service, has helped us to reach our target audience. And online research, simply being on social media platforms, researching groups of different ethnicities. Our multilingual staff was a great help here. So if we move to the second step we've done, it's simply managing the activities that you plan and implement them. Engage and building relationship is not only with the clients, but also with potential partners that could signpost learners to our provision. So we've we built some relationships with job centers, and then we had some private landlords who helped us with the recruitment as well. Create content. I'm sure the communication people know better this. It's about promotion, and again, promotion posts, leaflets. We've used, as you can see below, at how do you do it? We've used leaflets, we've used banners, and we've used social media. We even had created a dedicated page to ESOL Nash Dom provision. Offline interaction, it was more in community venues, different parts of Walsall. We've later on my slides, you will see the different locations we've been delivering ESOL, and our interaction with these community venues, community centers, was really helpful in terms of recruiting and reaching out our target audience. Consistent publishing cycle, which means you need to provide your audience with consistent information, like consistently being present there, updating them or on what's available there, giving details about the flexibility of the course, interacting in Messenger, in chat with potential learners. So as I said, we've used for offline interaction and promotion, we used leaflet, banners, and face-to-face conversations, and phone calls to our clients. It's linked to our database of clients. So we started looking at the clients that might need this service. So we started calling and approaching them individually, selling our course and informing them about the benefits and so on. Online interaction was mainly on Facebook, Messenger, websites. It's recommended. We didn't use very much, but we used WhatsApp as well for interacting with our learners, potential and actual learners. And we've created dedicated profiles on Facebook, which was really helpful, because then we had a designated person to have a constant communication with the public, like answering their questions, booking them for the first discussion with the tutor, and so on. Another step which I found it very useful and important in any provision, regardless of the type of the service, I think it's evaluate and improve, and this is our principle really. throughout the ESOL provision. So we've collected the feedback from our learners, we've collected the feedback from our online community, we listened to our clients, of course we did monitoring, and all the lessons, all the learnings from these processes, we have put it back into planning, and we've improved all the time our activities around recruitment and marketing. So for doing that, we used Smart Survey. We have a questionnaire on Smart Survey, which collects the feedback from learners anonymously. We've used the attendance list from the sessions, so we can see the flow of participants, what does motivate them to attend, what demotivate them to attend, because I would be utopic to say that we had 100% attendance at all sessions. Feedback from existing students in the class, outside the class. As I said, our clients, our students sometimes are also our clients in advisory support. So it's easy for us to actually have the opportunity to interact with our learners and listen to their feedback, their opinion about our services, not only about ESOL really. Communication with clients, it's constantly observation for our manager was part of the sessions to see how is it going, what's the reaction from both sides, from the tutor and from participants, so we can later on put this into a new plan of improving the provision and the marketing for ESOL. So if we speak, I think offline advertisement was something that is gone a lot of effort from us into. So you can see we've produced a leaflet which was disseminated through our other services, through outreach, through housing standard. We also do some visits in the community as part of the housing standards, and we inform we offer to each households information about health and safety, and we added up, this was something we added up to the existing services, and I'll talk a little bit later about the importance of using existing resources of the organization. We added up the leaflet so we can mail people and they have the information in their mailbox. We've also included ESOL in our promotional generic leaflets about the organizations. We've displayed banners in different community venues like Blacknall, Villenhall, Palfrey, mostly People Center, and both indoors and outdoors, as you can see on the fences, pull-up banners indoors. In each lesson, we made sure we have our banners, so this creates a bit of awareness in our students, and they know about the brand of the course, about the content, and they can promote it later on, because this was actually very helpful to us. Our students later on brought new students by simply recommending the course. So I want to refer here to some unique advantages or strengths of Nash Dom that really helped us to build our promotion and recruit for ESOL classes. I think what was really helpful to reach out as many people as possible is our large online community. And if you look at our at the picture with our Facebook page, you will see that we have already 2,553 people liking and following the page. So whatever content we would share on this page instantly reaches out this online community that is looking and and checking our page. So that was like a bonus, if you wish, for us to use it in the promotion. Interaction with the community is also a strength of Nash Dom that helps us to reach out to as many as possible. So community events, I'll give you an example of when we had an event around Roma Day, celebrating Roma community, Roma culture. So we had about 400 people attending that event. So what we did, we could eventually use the contacts of those people to promote the course. Outreach services, as I told you already, we have services we promote, and ESOL was one of them. Reputation and trust. We have built, I believe, a good reputation among our partners, but also among our clients. And our clients often are feeding back to us that they are pleased with our services, and often, very often actually, the new clients we have and the new learners in ESOL were recommended, were finding out about our provisions from other clients. So the word of mouth is really the core here. Our clients are confident to recommend our services to our people from their networks who are in need of this kind of help. So in terms of recruitment, we had quite a few people from this stream as well. Strong partnerships with other services. As I told you, this was part of the planning stage as well, because we had collaboration with job centers. We have collaboration with landlords, and it was easy for them to just refer people to us and recommend them for. We also had referrals from ESOL unit from Walsall for All, which is also part of the partnership we have with Walsall for All. Multilingual staff, again, is a very strong advantage of Nash Dom in terms of recruiting and promotion, because we were able to instantly engage with over 25 nationalities, because simply our staff speaks 15 languages, and it was easy for us to share content on different Facebook groups of different ethnicities, and speak directly to people of different ethnicities who have low English or no English, and that really was an advantage for us in terms of promotion. So in terms of recruitment, if you would ask me where did people come from in terms of enrolling into ESOL provision of Nash Dom, so we had people who came to us through social media, referrals from partners, community events. It was only the Roma event, it was different fairs and different community events with other partners where we presented our stall with leaflets. We had someone, volunteers, to interact with the wide public in different languages, to present our offer and to recruit learners into ESOL classes. Outreach service, housing standard service we provide. Our Roma officer was able to integrate this into their mainstream work, promoting this among her clients as well. Offline adverts, as you could see in my previous slides, we had lots of advertisement in the community, in community venues, outdoors, indoors, leaflets in mail, in people's mail boxes. Word of mouth was very successful, if I can say so. It was mainly being recommended by our existing clients to those who are in need of this help. So we could rely that our clients would be a good voice for promoting our services. The most students we had from our outreach services, housing standards, from our existing services, because that involved direct contact and communication with potential learners and allowed us to give more information, to have an individual approach. That was successful, the most successful. And then we had the social media. It's on the, if I may have like a top 3 streams that provided us with the most learners. It's outreach service, social media, and word of mouth. So as a result, we started our ESOL provision in April 2019. We've had provision across the borough in 7 different locations. We've been present in Willenhall Chart Centre. We've had some sessions in Willenhall Civic Temple, Blakenhall Community Hub, Moxley People Centre, Kalmar Community Garden, Adriana Community Cafe, and Nash Dom Community Hub, former Palfrey CA. The most attended class sessions were in Nash Dom Community Hub, former Palfrey CA. We believe, and the Adriana Community Cafe, we believe this is simply because of the location. It's not a secret that South and Center is ethnic minorities rate in terms of population ratio is quite high. So our target group really resides in these areas. So as a result of high demand in the classes, we've created 2 groups in Nash Dom Community Hub. However, as you all know, when COVID-19 lockdown was put in place, things have changed and we needed to move to online space with our provision. And kind of, we're not going to be the only ones to say this. That kind of changed our approach and our reach, because Zishaan was mentioning about elderly before, of struggling with IT technologies. For our clients, this is an issue not only for older ages, but we have lots of clients who might not have internet. We have lots of clients who are not confident of using Zoom or even sometimes Facebook chat. So this transition to online delivery has decreased our numbers a little bit. However, as I told you at the beginning, our lessons in ESOL provision was that constantly we need to evaluate and improve. So we looked at the numbers, we understood that we need to change our approach, and we started, when we moved to online delivery, we started with 2 groups. And because we've been able to boost our promotion through social media, through direct contacts with our existing clients, we managed to bring up the numbers and create a new group, and currently we are looking at the 4th group, because this implied also supporting people with learning some skills about using social media, about using Zoom as well. But mainly, I think the individual approach was really helpful in terms of bringing up numbers from 10 participants to up to 40 at the moment. So we had our advisors and tutors calling people individually, have a chat on the phone. But again, as I said, we can allow that because we can afford this, because we have a large database of clients. And we have the consent from people of using their contacts, calling them back and informing them about any new services, provisions and activities that might be of interest for them. So if you would ask me, this took me quite a while to make an analysis of our provision and understand what helped us to be successful in terms of bringing people into class and increasing numbers and really reaching out the most in need people for this kind of provision. So since April 2019, since we started face-to-face delivery, over 180 people from Walsall have attended our ESOL provision, both face-to-face and online, and we believe this is due to flexible provision. We've delivered in 7 different locations, we've tested out the water, and we wanted to make sure we are as closer as possible to our target audience, to our learners. So we provide flexible and accessible classes. Different timing, we had classes in the afternoon, we had evening classes, and we had weekend classes. Possibility to join with children. This was something that was really helpful with Roma community. We had mothers with 1 child joining the class, and because we made that possible, it helped really in terms of attendance, in terms of motivating them to come to the class and joining us for the session. The fact that we've been present with live delivery, but also online delivery, is also part of being flexible and accessible to everyone in the community. Continuous review of the provision to match the needs of the learners and potential learners. As I said, this is our principle in ESOL provision. We continuously reviewing what we're doing, how we're doing it. Is there any space for improvement? How can we make things to go better? And this, as mentioned before, I'm not going to repeat it, is linked to people's feedback, observation and monitoring as well. Quality provision, we believe we have in place a good provision of ESOL, our teachers of dedicated and serious attitude towards the sessions they provide. I will say that refreshments with the face-to-face delivery was something to incentivize people as well. Accessible venues is also something very important, because if our learner lives in South but our provision is in West, this is not going to help neither of us to bring him into the class or keep him motivated to actually attend the provision. Friendly environment and space for socializing. We discovered that for many people in our ESOL classes, this activity is also a way of connecting with others, socializing, meeting new people. And I must say that for some, it became like a support group. For example, if someone was looking for a job or they were struggling with an application, they could share that in the class, and people in the class could actually come with tips and support that person. So I think this our provision has created that space where people could bring their worries, their frustrations sometimes, helping them to connect and socialize with others, being understood really. Holistic approach and out support is something that also helped us a lot. As I said, we work a lot with newly arrived communities, mainly Europeans and Russian speakers. And because we all know that lack of English often is the barrier to access mainstream services, and this is why our outreach service exists, because people cannot access it by themselves, and they need our support with that. So we looked at the issue from different perspectives, and we decided that this is going to add up to the other services that we offer to our clients. So ESOL, it comes to break that barrier of accessing services by themselves. So this holistic approach to the support we offer to our clients, I think, made us to realize that ESOL is an important part of what we do and offer to our clients. Balanced teaching approach, so we encourage our tutors to have a balanced approach in terms of teaching with formal and informal activities. As I said before, sometimes it's simply about socializing and offering that safe space where people can communicate, connect, make friendships even. Wide engagement with existing and new communities. As I said before, we have a large online community, but we also engaged face-to-face with Walsall communities. We engage with over 25 nationalities. I've recently done a report and I know this number for sure is up to date. A reputation and trust with the community, previous support, being responsive to our clients' needs has created this reputation and trust, and now they are our advocates, if you wish, for our cause, for what we provide, for what we offer for the community. So lots of people, as I said, they found out about the course by word of mouth. Building partnerships, again, is another important thing, that you cannot work alone. You cannot be isolated as a provider. You need to be connected and make sure that there is a continuity in the support you offer or your partner offers. So by working together and building these partnerships, you actually help yourself, but you also help your client a lot. Multilingual tutors, it's something that helped us a lot with beginners. This is helped us to keep people motivated to actually attend, because sometimes people are frustrated when they are being dropped in an environment where people speak only in English and they cannot understand a word, or only can figure out a few words. So this could be very frustrating and can put people off for attending the classes. So by having tutors with similar background, speaking similar languages, it was actually a great help for our provision and for bringing up or maintaining, I would say, the numbers. So from our learners, we've picked out some benefits from their feedback, that some benefits they had from our ESOL provision. So this helped them with finding a job, simply looking at adverts, being able to understand the advert, being able to understand the condition for that job advert, being able to apply. They became more confident in job interviews. gain confidence to speak English with their neighbors, with schools, as a parent, with teachers. Learn to make appointments so they feel more confident to speak on the phone, because this is a real struggle, especially for people with lack of English or low English. They would struggle to understand accents, and on the phone sometimes operators, they speak very fast, and this is a very common struggle for our clients. They became more independent in accessing local services, so they know how to request something, or they know how to ask questions if they're interested in certain services, receive support from the group. This was actually an advantage of the group itself, because it became as a resource for learners. Extending their network and improve socialization, I referred to that before, so this was actually some of the top benefits listed by our learners. At this stage, I would finish my presentation. This was all I had to share from our experience. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them now or later on. And I'm passing back to Zishaan.
Thank you very much, Anna. That was absolutely fantastic. And I'd just like to highlight that Anna had a 400% increase in student numbers, and I think that's very impressive, and she did it in a very short time. So that was the gemstone that made me approach her to ask her if she'd be willing to present. So thank you very much, Anna. There are a bunch of questions for you, but we're going to have the Q&A at the end. Next, we're going to hear from Sanjay Patel from Hindu Forum, who will be speaking about using digital technologies for ESOL.
First of all, we'd just like to say we've been on a Let's Talk About It program for a year and a half now, coming up to 18 months, and we choose all the key messages about what Let's Talk About It can actually do. And in this guise, it's pre-ESOL and aimed at the communities, generally from the Patel area or the Porphyry environment, even though we've got students who come afar, as well as close to Sutton and Wolverhampton. We can see the benefits of what we try to sell our students on the course are no pressure learning, so learning at your pace. So on the left hand side, you can see the key bullet points, which is what we try to encourage people to see and actually emphasize when we try to recruit for our courses. So if you scroll down just a little bit, Zishaan, so you've got learn at your own pace. We also have a lot of people get frightened because they feel these courses sometimes result in examinations taking place. Obviously, with the non-examination, it's enticement that people can come freely, and also free assessments upon enrolment. We also exercise the roll-on, roll-off capability, so there's no pressure that you've got to commit a day a week or 2 days a week. Obviously, it's preferable, but some people can't because of the way they're actually employed, shift working, shift patterns, etc., or children to pick up, etc. So we talk about generally picking up new words to improve the basic language speaking skills. We also talk about and emphasize on social aspect, which is also about meet new people and friends, because you do bring a lot of different people into the class and groups, which is always good because people bounce off each other, and it's always good to have people at the same level because you can relate to and speak to, and you learn from each other. So we talk about also new experiences, so discover and get around the community independently. So we talk about how people can use ESOL as a program where they could be introduced to aspects of the community in a very different way, where it's tutor-led, but you're free to actually experience it firsthand. And the primary engagement then means that you've actually now learned something very, very quickly, practically, as it always helps, and also the aspect of working within the community with different sorts of people that you may not have mixed with otherwise. So we try to sell it on the basis that it's a key thing that people must have to lighten the services, not just on public services, but every walk of life. Even if you go to doctors, etc., you need to be able to speak your self-diagnosis in a clear sort of way, which is always good. So I just want to show the advert, because this is the advert that we actually generally use to promote the actual ESOL class itself. So if you scroll towards the bottom, you will see that we actually recruit. So this is from our second program. So we run 20-week programs, and the second program, which we had a flyer set up for, we actually got feedback from most of our students, and our students range, delighted to say, from 24 to 81. And this is from some of the established communities. We have different faiths attending, or different locations. So we actually have good feedback from teacher, so professional, approachable, flexible and no pressure whilst they are learning. We talk about speaking English. So some of the reasonings that came out while the students attended were quite different to what we aspire them to be, and this is quite helpful because it's helping us to recruit even more. So if you scroll down, you'll see people have learned from the classes and gone on to do other things, for instance, engaging with their own family. So if you're a second generation who hasn't spoken the English language, and your grandchildren come from school and they're engaging in English, it's now a privilege for some of these people to be able to understand what the grandchildren are actually saying. More confident when they're speaking with English with people. So that might be neighbours, etc., or even schools parents' evening. It's somewhere where English is exercised and very, very useful. Beat the driving instructor. You got schools parents' evening meetings. They're more involved now. They can understand. They can engage. Communication skills improve. You talk about communication, integration, word being used here, and also cohesion. We talk about communication with even your neighbours. Sometimes your neighbours speak English and you want to say something, but you can't. And so the best thing sometimes is don't say anything at all, because it saves the embarrassment. So a lot of the good things that have come about this, environment is the right place, helps with learning qualification. We've had a few people who've moved on to accredited ESOL, people who are working. So we have a few people who did night shifts and they came on the course. And they are now engaging with their managers and actually engaging in how the work process can be improved, or how they can play a bigger role. They talk about English speaking at home, so even with the grown-up children, etc. So if you scroll down, there's a few more nice feedbacks that we did collect in terms of the program that we've run. So what we've had to do is we have been running a program for 18 months, and it's always been a classroom style. Our referrals, which Kirit will go on to say, will be coming from different avenues or partners in this case. And so what we've been tasked to do on this occasion is we've set up the online Let's Talk About It classes, whereby we use Zoom, and we use the students to actually use devices to come on board and actually engage with the classes at hand. So COVID-19 challenge, I mean, we were forced into this route. We did have a technical aspect. My background is IT. So the aspect of the LTI included technical engagement, whereby students will be introduced very, very lightly, not too comprehensively, but very, very lightly with the aspect of using things like Google to search for things or help search. Learning the basic English means some of the words that could be emphasized clearly, Google will return a very, very clear match, which could be powerful in its own right. But with the COVID-19 challenge and the distancing aspects that you would have to keep, the classroom scenario, which was working very well for us for the last year or so, had to go because the room that we used to hire would be quite difficult to actually set up the class, and second, the venue that we used to hire was closed down. So to continue the LTI program after engagement with Harj and Zishaan, the Walsall Council team, we understood that online learning was a possibility. So bring your own device is a key word or phrase that you're all possibly familiar with, but it's simply a plug and play. your electronic device into electronic media. So then you can start to use and collaborate and social network effectively. In this context, distance learning was possible. So we thought, yeah, that would be a really, really good thing to actually trial out, because it's very, very manageable. We have plenty of meetings and things online, so there was no reason why we couldn't do this anyway. So we decided with the team that we have that distance learning was something that we was going to entertain. And that would be in either usage of mobile devices, laptops, desktops, tablets, etc. So depending on what it is that we can actually provide our students, to encourage them basically subscribe to the course without being put off. So we decided that was the route that we were going to take. That in itself will bring its own challenges and considerations. The next slide, please. So student enrollment in this context, yes, we advertise still in terms of our WhatsApp groups. We have a familiarity list of students and networks that we actually have. So we would post our flyers or intentions for the groups and sessions that we do set up. So we actually started by checking to see if there was a pulse feedback, which meant that the students would be willing to actually join the online class. It's not a given that every student would enjoy that. So we actually took back a feedback exercise where we phoned every student that we knew and actually took feedback and said, would you be interested if we did set up the course? And without question, there are a few givens that we'd have to capture. A few givens are especially internet access. I mean, if we had the luxury of the venue that we had, then the Wi-Fi in the actual premises would be enough and everyone could get on, etc. But that means the chicken and egg scenario, where if it's in the venue, then you don't need online presence, not always. So in this context, assuming social distancing is key aspect, then internet access is a key question that we ask. If they don't have internet access, then obviously we could provide a provision where we can actually make sure that they're actually given a dongle or something that would give them internet connection for the usage of the class. We also ask do you have the device itself, so laptops or mobiles or desktops, etc. And we also ask of software in terms of Zoom. So Zoom was the chosen software application which we wanted to use. Yes, we could have gone to Teams just like we're doing today, but Zoom was cheaper and it's more widespread use at the moment, I guess, especially whilst lockdown was in place. Zoom came out in its own because one, it was free, for at least 40-minute session. And then if you did enroll or subscribe, then obviously you had the benefit of more things. And as you're experiencing today on Teams, the functionality is almost similar, except Zoom seems to be a lot more evolved. Okay, so we use Zoom and Gmail, and our other communication network primarily is WhatsApp group. So we asked everyone if they had smartphones or they had phones where the WhatsApp group was there. And even if they didn't have phones, we could download WhatsApp on desktop and desktop could engage with WhatsApp. So we had a communication protocol that was safe, distance-led and compliant, and above all, GDPR compliant. Everything had to be secure. Even Zoom on the videos, full control, making sure nobody has access to some of the facilities that might be used, including Gmail and WhatsApp. So we put this as the engagement on our channel of thought. Not too complicated, not absolutely comprehensive, but just about enough for us to collect feedback and to see what sort of equipment we might have to purchase, and also the support that we might have to supply. It's good that Anna mentioned to get the people online, you're either IT savvy and you're quite up for it because it's not a threatening challenge that IT is something you have to learn, and it might be just a class that you engage with. But if you're new to IT itself and you're new to the subject syllabus, it could put double sort of pressure on your learning capability too much too soon. So we also set up the student support. And the student support really came in terms of two things. The key thing that we found when we spoke to students was, I've never used the software. I know what is Zoom, never used that sort of thing. You know, it was new. What is Zoom? Is it a game? What is it? If you're not social, interactive or network savvy, then Zoom could be oblivious and you might be forgiven to think it's a game. Gmail, well, a lot of the people that we had in our class who were interested in joining, they hadn't used email, never used email in their life. So going online, and you talk about internet browsers, well, what is an internet browser? So that's the level that you're starting from. So we thought, to make this a simple, a very comfortable exercise, we thought, well, okay, what we'll do, we'll invest in the tablets and we'll pre-configure them with all the software already downloaded and all the Gmail accounts set up and everything that you need to know or engage with on the class was set up on the tablets, including shared folder areas. So if there was any prescriptive ESOL or pre-ESOL materials that we wanted to give the students, we could just copy in the directory. So just like today, we've had to distribute the presentation to Zishaan. We would actually download all the documents on the tablet beforehand. And so whilst we went to the student's house to actually give them training, first of all, how to switch on the device, and then how to engage or going about engaging to get online or clicking on the Zoom button. What was the essential importance of the password and the user ID that we send on every class, and how you'd go about trying to self-sustain your login to the class itself, because that in itself is a challenge. Then we talked about the software, hardware and software support. So even if the students have got the laptops or the mobiles and also the tablets in place, it doesn't mean everything goes swimmingly. As you'll notice that there's always hardship in some guys or another. So in this context, we've had issues, for instance, connection issues, you won't pick up the internet, or we've had conflicts in internet signals, or the tablet won't come on, etc. So what we did is there's a phone that they actually ring and then actually get back and talk about issues, and we take that offline so that the class is not interrupted. So yeah, so myself, I'm the IT support. I would go around and go to people's houses with social distancing in mind and make sure that they are able to log into the class before the outset. And we tried to do this before the start of the class time session, so that way then we get maximum out of the class teaching time itself. We found out that as long as the support is on hand and as long as people can actually phone in technical support, the students are put at ease. And considering that most of the students that we do have on the course itself might have smartphones, and so very confident with the Zoom usage in that sort of aspect, because people have family and friends and they Zoom all the time. But when it's a two-way in a formal communication, it seems to be the pressure is much greater to get it right, and so silly mistakes sometimes are made, like for instance logging in with the wrong IDs, etc. So we found this to be a good, useful model, and as mentioned before, continuous feedback on how we can improve things, even the timeliness of the class durations, etc., which Kirit will cover off, is lessons and best practice that we evolve even now as we go along. Okay, next slide, please, Shazad. Okay, so our team is quite simple. We're not a big outfit. We have what we call project lead and operations lead. So Kirit will be inside the project lead area. And then we have what we call lead teachers and assistant teachers. Assistant teachers in this context are people online is translation support. So bilingual in terms of translating the context so the students can mostly understand that. And the team's not complete in my eyes without students. So we do have currently online students registered as 14 with us today. So that's the online English students team. And as history will tell you, we've had a throughput of about nearly close to 50 students overall in our history throughout the LTI program. So that's our current team. So we are small and we're all volunteers and we all work full time. So we're doing this in our spare time. So yes, when we prefer classes to run, we try to run them on the weekends as much as possible. And if we do the weekdays, then the weekday classes will be flexible from 7 p.m. in the evening. So as you can see, we'll show you how the classes have evolved and demand-based. So if you carry on to the next slide, please. The next slide is quite a mouthful, but I've tried to put it into a fashion which is quite easy to comprehend, I hope. But what it does suggest is for the online classes, we started on 9th of May, which is what our launch date was, and we started with a Saturday class. And the Saturday class as a flexible class works for us because a lot of people who do shift work or are reliant on their children, etc., to help them in some sort of way, that time slot seems to be suitable for generally our students. And so on Saturday we launched a 2-hour session maximum, and we started with 4 students on that session. So even though the appetite was 14 students would enroll, we had 4 students who actually, with conviction, logged in and their class started. It took us 2 weeks up to about 24th of May before the student numbers started to channel up to about 8. And we started then to supplement our first classes on a Saturday with a second class on a Sunday, which would run from 11 to 12:30 p.m. So the second class was launched. Up to the 10th of June, we continued the progress of the classes, running smooth, quite nicely, ironing out all the crinkles that we were getting in terms of login, etc. We would still have to handhold 1 or 2 of the students who somehow seem to always have a connection issue or still not very confident in logging in. So even after they've had hands-on training that we delivered to them at their houses. But we did on the continuously on the 10th of June, we launched our 3rd session of the week. So we have 3 classes a week now. And the 3rd class of the week was from 7:30 to 9 p.m. Up to the 1st of August, we had 14 students who regularly attended. They're on currently summer break, so we're off now for a month until next month. So yeah, so up to the 1st of August, 14 students recruited. So that's not too bad. It's quite manageable in terms of max class size at the moment. We have the 3 different classes, which is not repetitive, but they supplement each other. So the whole idea is to accelerate learning, which is the subscription of classes which support each other. So the Saturday is a pre-ESOL non-credited syllabus entry, which is working towards ESOL. Sunday, we actually do a homework revision and a reading session where it supplements their reading skills to support the ESOL speaking skills. And on Wednesday, we have a beginners class where, assuming no English is spoken, we actually take them all the way through the starting point, all the way up to alphabetic, to pronunciations, etc. Kirat will cover a bit more about that. And just to emphasize, our youngest student is 28, our oldest student is 82, and our average student age currently is running at 57, which is not bad at all considering it's IT, introducing a whole new generation to IT engagement and learning English at the same time. So it's a win-win-win. So that's a good thing. Zishaan, next slide, please. Okay, so we thought we might as well do a summary of some of the best practices that we have learned, and something that we can all endeavour to share to help promote more online learning. And obviously this list could be extended just a little bit more as we speak. We are continuously learning. We've learned a few things of Anna's presentation earlier and what Harji's been saying earlier too. So it's a continuous learning exercise. But for our best practice, what we thought we'd share with you was recruitment students. So without question, we do emphasize that internet access is required because it simplifies things. Yes, we can get the dongles and we can prescribe them, but there's a subscription to pay, then is how long do you pay it, and it becomes a little bit costly, and you've got to manage that independently because you'd have to subscribe it per individual student. So we found internet access beat the mobile usage because everyone's got an unlimited plan anyway. So we do have a number of people who use the mobile device to engage in the class also. So it's not essential that you have a home network internet access. You can use your mobile, and for the savvy amongst us, we can actually connect onto the mobile internet itself. So you could piggyback onto the mobile internet. So even if you don't have internet, you can use your home device, hooking onto your mobile device internet usage because it's a limited plan anyway. No IT knowledge is required. There's no assumption that anybody should know anything about IT. It's something that we train them, we handhold them. It takes about an hour at most to make them understand the basic steps. of what it is that we do. At some point, we were thinking of publishing a idiots guide. We don't want to call it idiots guide, but a user guide, simplified, which will tell you press this, press that, etc. So you could simplify as much as you possibly can so they can self-help themselves. But we found, even with the students with the least amount of IT knowledge, they've gone on to now sustain themselves with the login themselves, and they engage in the class without any support. And that's a fantastic place to be in. No experience of Zoom, Gmail or WhatsApp. So these are different software packages. Now, this is now bringing people up into the social networking era and also email communication. So for people who've never used any of this skill, it's a massive introduction to a technical expertise area, which is minimal, but very, very effective because all their families use this, work environments use this, and it's a very, very good skill to possess. So we found that to be effective, and we found the students love this sort of engagement in this way because that's a brilliant skill they've picked up whilst they've gone to primary objective, which is learn English. No computers or mobile or tablet required. We talk about this because we pre-invested in the tablets, and we were saying that we weren't going to let the equipment be the bottleneck for these students not coming to learn English. So the tablet was always there as a back end, even though we prefer them to use their own equipment because they'll be more familiar, more comfortable with it. And because of GDPR, it then means they don't download anything or anything like that on the tablets that we might provide. So we want to keep that clean. This is for the class only. Willingness to learn, that's the biggest thing that we look for when we get the students, that they must be convicted in terms of conviction, that they're going to attend and they're going to do the homework, so they're going to say what they're going to do, and they are going to make for good students. We talk about support students new to IT or social networking or remote learning. So we talk about support, and in this context, home visits and telephone. So yes, we do have to go to people's homes with social distancing in mind because of current COVID-19, and also with trust in mind, because you can't send anybody and everybody to anybody's house, and they should trust you. We are lucky as part of the program we've been ongoing, and we know most of these students, and a lot of students would know who we are, as from the domain we're quite listed as part of the forum and other projects that we do run. So it's about trust as well. And we talk about telephones, so they have their telephone numbers to the key essential people they could contact. So if it's IT support they need, or if they can't make the class, etc. So that communication channel is always open, along with a WhatsApp group where we have a shared class WhatsApp group. So anybody who can't make it might suggest a message saying, sorry, can't attend this week. Or if something's going to change in terms of homework or priorities, then Kirit might put messages out saying, well, this is the message for this today, etc. And also use it as a means to post the invitations onto the group. We can help configure the devices with software, so people do have. Are we running over already, Zishaan?
No, it should be okay.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Okay, so we haven't got 2 minutes to go anyway. I think we're only 2 more slides. So we talk about home visits, help configure their devices with software. So it's always good. A lot of people have devices, but because they haven't used the software, then our IT support would actually go down and actually install the software for them. And like we said, people who are totally brand new might actually benefit from using a loan tablet from ourselves at first, in order for them to get the confidence levels and then move on to their own devices if they wish to do so. If you could go on to the next slide, please. So class interaction. So we talked about continuous student involvement, social interaction on break. We found this to be fantastic because when they're online and they can see each other, even at break times, you can see the buzz. They're all so happy to engage online. So it's something different, gives them a break and gives them that social element where they can speak about things they might not have. The SO, Kirit is fantastic at statements of work, design and delivery. So we have different levels of SO created, and that is followed. Teachers approachable. So even though it's a community-based project, we expect teachers to have high caliber standards. Clearly, the community aspect and people engagement skills here are essential, especially with how you treat the different caliber of students, so young and old in this context. Homework for students, so we talk about pressured learning even outside the class environment, so continuous homework and things like that. It allows the student to continue learning even whilst they're outside the class. We talk about praise, and I think Harj touched upon some of this. So we talk about applauding students, so yeah, where it's due, applauding and actually saying a good job done is not such a bad thing. Seldom being said, not too often, otherwise it gets a little bit too frequent and loses its potency. Don't be afraid to push students a little bit more. We do identify students because it's on Zoom. It's really good, so people like me can observe students who do excel or some students who don't, and that all contributes. And somewhat may not have happened if it wasn't online, because I might not have sat in the class for 2 hours. So if you click on next slide, please. We talk about class sizes, and we find for online interaction, especially when you're going around the classes, class sizes is key and essential. So we talk about sizes that are manageable today, or about 10 to 12 as maximum anymore, and we entertain breakout sessions or different sessions altogether. So this essentially limited interruption, less pressure on the teachers, and class levels. So when you've got a mix standard of students in the same class, it sometimes becomes very difficult then to keep everybody interested at the same time. We talk about class discipline, rules that must be made clear from the outset. So our online class is no different to a class in person. Rules must be clear and made clear, and times must be prompt, finishing, break times, start times. At first we did struggle where people used to come on 5 minutes aboard, and at break times they might come in a few minutes later because still making that cup of tea. It's all teaching time. So if I've got 1.5 hour class, I expect 1.5 hour teaching time. If you've got a 5 minute break, then fine, you accept 1 hour 25 minutes. But anything beyond that, we're losing teaching time. So it has to be strict. No phone calls or distractions whilst you're in class. So we don't expect people to start having their dinner or things like that whilst they're doing their class. Yeah, inevitably sometimes people have a snack, etc. But we expect concentration for the time you're in the class. Unnecessary interruptions, only where it's bona fide and absolutely essential to people might interrupt in the class. Otherwise, it's not acceptable, and we would use mute, etc. On the day if we feel students are not being obedient. Class attendance encouraged, so we expect regular attendance to encourage accelerated learning practice, and anybody who misses a week or two, if they wish to go back, there is always work that's sent out. Kirit and team would always send out work that they've missed, or they would see the prior recording so they can actually see the class in action.
We realise we haven't answered the questions yet, but I thought it would be important to just let the speakers talk, because actually by saying the longer version of their presentations, I think they have answered quite a lot of questions. However, we will be answering all the questions, but it will be via writing. So when this event is finished, I will be sending out all the presentations, and I will also have all the written answers to all the questions that have been asked today. I believe I have everyone's email here, but if you're someone who got a link to attend this from someone else, if you can just get your email address to me at zishaan.mohammed@walsall.gov.uk, I will send those over to you also. So once again, thank you very much to all the speakers who've spoken today. Absolutely fantastic. And we're not intending this to be the last webinar. We know there's absolutely fantastic teachers, managers out there who will also have great things to share. But thank you very much for attending the first one, and hope you have a great rest of your day. Thank you very much, guys.